Hello there and welcome to today's episode of The Art of Feeling Better. I thought I would come to you from a slightly different location today, mix it up a little bit so you don't get bored. And today it's going to be a two-parter, I think. I'm going to do this in two parts. It may end up being a bit like The Fast and the Furious, where we have part 287,000, because it's a long topic and it never ends. But for now, this is going to be Follow What Lights You Up, part 1. Now, the whole part of this whole podcast, the idea behind it is to pass on a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of hope, and some stories from as many of the amazing, incredible people that I come across as possible, to help us all come together and share just some ways to help ourselves feel a little bit better living in the day and age that we do, where things can be a little bit tricky and we're often not taught the skills and resilience that we need to make it through some of the things that we experience. And really, this is for my kids. Surprise, kids, this is for you guys. This is my legacy and my journey and my wisdom to share as a parent for my kids. So when I'm long gone, you can look back at this and go, God, my mum was crazy. But you're welcome. And this is for your kids. This is for your kids. This is for your kids' kids. This is something that I think is really important for us to try and do collectively. And anyone that has a platform or has, a skill set that they can share, do it. Just do it. You're here for a reason. You have a purpose. Everybody has this unique signature and this unique purpose. And if we can just all line up with that and find what lights us up, then the world will look completely different. And we will all be lighting up and lighting each other's touch papers. And trust me, it will be a very, very different landscape. And unfortunately, we found ourselves in a position where most people have succumbed over hundreds of years to this awful, energetic oppression, I'm going to call it, where the control and the corruption and the power abuse of a very small percentage of people has landed us in a situation where the majority of human beings are so oppressed, abused, traumatized, uncomfortable, unhappy, and feel like it's either out of their control and there's nothing they can do about it, or it's somehow their fault. And it's all psychology, it's all clever manipulation, and it works. Props to you guys out there pulling the strings. Sophisticated business at its finest. You've got to respect it because it's done the job. However, times are changing, and there are many, many, many of us out there who are, we found in our purpose, and we know that we're here for this very reason. We're here to sort of be at the pointy end and shout from the rooftops in whatever way that looks, and have a voice and have a platform, and try and guide people in our own communities or globally, in some people's cases, to think differently, to feel differently, to behave differently, so that we can move our way out of this quagmire and move into a different space. So my work since the very beginning, I look back now and I reflect, but very early on, has always been around doing that, around shining my light as brightly as I can and encouraging other people to do the same. It's got me into some real sticky situations. It's not been easy because my own childhood programming and my own issues that throw me straight into that form response, please and appease, people pleasing, means that doing the work that I do, I'm treading a very, very fine line that I often jump over and have to pull myself back from, and learn how to read my body and my own language a little bit and some of the repeating patterns. So it's not easy. And I think that's one of the first points to say, is that a lot of people have the sort of misconception, especially when you are dealing with, I've had this conversation with a lot of contemporaries, actually, a lot of my peers. When you project as being a very confident, very self-aware kind of person, there is the assumption that you just don't have anything to deal with and that you don't understand and that it's just easy for you because of the way you are. But I think that's something that needs a bit of a rethink, because we experience exactly the same stuff. We might have different personality aspects, different ways of dealing with things, but it doesn't mean that we are just somehow really fortunate that we don't experience things that other people experience. We've just maybe learned different strategies and are doing things in a slightly different way. But I feel it. I feel all feels, probably more so than you would imagine, being a raging empath that I am. So trying to do this kind of stuff comes with its own set of challenges. however. I'm saying however a lot lately, so there's lots of little twisty turns in my topics. Now I'm looking back and reflecting, I really realised that everything I've done, every decision I've made has been perfect, has been brilliant. It's been this lifetime of learning that will go on. And even when faced with uncomfortable, shall we say, because I don't think there's bad and good, there's comfortable and there's uncomfortable, isn't there? You want to feel comfortable, you want to feel happiness and joy and peace, and you want to chase that because it feels nice. But you can't avoid the uncomfortable sensations of your body. You can't avoid pain and anger and grief and sadness, because they're all part of the human experience. So once I started to flip my mindset a little bit and realise, everything's cool. And every decision I've ever made has been training for where I am right now. And everything I'm doing right now is training for where I'm going to be in the future. And once you embrace that and you accept that and you move with it, your life gets into flow a little bit more, and everything stops being so resistant and so difficult. So these are the things I want to pass on to my kids, you kids out there. And one thing that I've noticed as well, and I say it all the time, but I can't say it loud enough for people to hear at the back, is we have to sow seeds. We have to show up better as adults and as parents. And our job is just to sow seeds. Our job is not to live our kids' lives for them or tell them what they should want. It's really difficult not to, because you just want to do whatever you can for them. But the point is, we don't know and they don't know. My experience as a parent has shown me that as long as you sow those seeds, those authentic seeds with the best information and wisdom and knowledge that you have, without any control, sowing the good seeds, then you're just there to support your kids to build resilience through the things that are uncomfortable. That's it. You want them to chase the light, you want them to have great times, but you're there to support them through the uncomfortable, pinchy bits where they're learning their particular lessons and they're doing their training for what's to come. And then eventually, and I'm seeing this in real time now at the moment, because my eldest, hello out there, eldest, watching this back, is now coming up to the age where, at the age 24, your prefrontal cortex is fully lit up. So before that, things are really tough. You've got hormones flying everywhere. You can't access that logic and reasoning adult brain because it's not come online yet. So it's not surprised that our youngsters have such difficulties, but you can see the transitions. And now my eldest is 25, and I've been watching this whole time, all these difficulties and all these challenges with all of them, and knowing that at this point there will be a transition of some sort. There will be this light up moment of, right, now I'm going. And if you've put the foundations in, and if you've supported and sown the right seeds as a parent, that will give your children the ability, the capacity, the resilience, and the permission to choose themselves and to decide what it is that they want. Because they're not herded into a space that you want them to be in, and they're not herded down into a space that society thinks they should be. Because we've seen how that plays out. It doesn't play out well. Everybody's absolutely, I'm not going to say the word because I nearly did a swear, but people are struggling so much with their mental health because they've not been allowed to explore, express, find out who they are, find out what lights them up as individuals, and go exploring. So I'm hoping that I've done a good enough job, or I'm still doing a good enough job at that as a parent, in trying to support that resilience and make good choices, do good things, experience everything you possibly can, the pleasant and the unpleasant. And at some point, the lights will light up. And I will say that to everybody out there, my big piece of advice that I absolutely live by. If you have all the conditions right and you have done the inner work, inner child work, shadow work, my specialty, at some point the lights will light up, and it's very obvious when the lights light up. And what I mean by that, and the whole topic of today, is you will know when something is right for you. It will be undeniable. The light will switch on, and all you have to do is follow it. And when you follow it, the next light will light up, and the next light will light up, and the path just illuminates itself. The tricky bit is getting to that first bolt of light, because most people are so stunted and so trodden down, and they don't know who they are, and they haven't got the ability or the permission to find out or express or explore who they really are. And they're caged into these boxes of what society or parents or friends or siblings expect and want them to be. So they never break free of that comfort zone, which is actually a prison, enough to find the light, which is really sad. And it's my job over here, like a goddamn Care Bear, lighting up shining my light, keeping myself from flipping over the sides, so that other people have that sense of safety and permission to explore. And then we can light that touch paper. And then they can go and light another touch paper, and everybody lights up. And I can see it with, baby number 2. Hello, my darling. Starting to get towards that age sort of 24, not quite yet, but starting to learn some lessons, gather some wisdom. And those seeds that were sown when they were all babies and all the way through, those seeds of be you. Find out what makes you happy. Have good boundaries. Don't let anybody drag you down. All of those seeds that were sown are starting to come to fruition now, and you can see that in the next couple of years, this one is going to go boom. Find that light. I don't know what that is. I can't help you. I can't tell you. I can't show you because it's not me. But when it comes, you'll know it, and you'll have the tools to be able to really fly with it. So wait for that light and follow it. And then my other 2 little babies, you're still in the wings, still waiting in the wings, that awful teenage angsty phase where you don't know what you're doing, where you're going, everything feels wrong, and it's all really, there's a lot of turmoil. It's okay. Just keep as steady as you can. Just learn how to surf the waves. The seeds have been sown, and when things develop a bit further, the lights will start to light up and shine, and you'll know your path. So it is about lighting up, finding what lights you up. And I'm going to show you, I'm not going to talk for too much long because I want to show you a little show reel at the end of this. I'm going to show you my journey so far. And this is why it's part 1, because part 2 is going to be specifically about this weekend just gone. So we had TriFest this weekend just gone. It's our 2nd year of doing our festival, and this is the continuation of the journey. This is the Fast and the Furious part 2. I'm going to show you next week. How things develop when you keep following your light and you keep shining your light for other people to follow. So back to part 1, thinking about when I first started out, those of you that would have seen my Batman origin story, the first couple of podcast episodes about my experiences, growing up and becoming a teenager and finding my soulmate and having babies and all of the stuff that happened then. Kind of the next stage of that was working out what was it? Who am I? What am I doing? What's my purpose? What am I here to do? And going into the fashion industry was a really weird way around, but it was what I was meant to do. I started off when I was a teenager, really, really creative, and I wanted to explore that creativity. I always felt there was an expectation on me to go into business and to maybe go to law school or business school or do something highly academic, which just didn't light me up. Great, yeah, maybe, but there was no fire, there was no passion. But once I started to explore more creative outlets, I really started to feel something. So at very young age, I started to look at going to be a makeup artist, but not in the traditional sense. I wanted to do special effects, I wanted to do big movies. I love the thought of live events and sets and theatre and creating beautiful characters and artistry, and really wanted to do zombie films and casualty makeup. I don't know why, but that's what I wanted to do. Started to go into that. And then I became pregnant when I was 20. So that really wasn't the kind of career. I'm just going to get rid of my numb feet. Bear with me a second. I've given myself pins and needles, which is lovely. It wasn't the kind of a career that was conducive to family life. And what lit me up was, I want to be a mom. I want a family, and I want a family. I want to break some cycles from our families, and I want to do it right. So there wasn't the option for me to do things in a certain way with my career, because I'd experienced the fallout of some of that stuff. So I wasn't doing that. I was going to do it differently. I thought I can still do what I want to do. I'm still going to light up. I'm not going to sacrifice myself completely. I'm going to be a mom. I'm going to be a good mom. I'm going to have a strong family. I'm going to keep us together, and I'm going to follow my passions. I'm going to be Superwoman. That's my thought. Still following that. A few burnouts along the way, lots of lessons learned, but you can have it all. I truly believe that. So I started to look at differently, and I started to look at my salons. I ended up with some salons for a good 10, 12, 13 years. I think I had a couple of salons, and then I was doing weddings, and I started to get into fashion. Excuse me 1 second. It's going to be beautiful watching while I'm trying to get myself into comfortable positions. There you go. That's better. Okay, that's much better. So I started to get into the wedding industry, and I started to sort of diversify a little bit more, keeping creative as I could. And it was fashion that really allowed me to light up, because I was being a mummy. I was learning how not to burn out by burning out. I was trying to be all things to all people, working through my own sort of people pleasing response, learning that I was a really, really terrible manager. So having staff, managing people, no, not my thing. Leader, I'm a good leader. I'm a really good leader with degrees in leadership and management. Management, not so much. People pleasing doesn't allow for good management. So I was learning those skills along the way and how to play to other people's strengths and my own. So that was all great learning. But fashion, doing my stuff within the fashion industry, the amazing creativity that lit me up, and I really, really loved live events, being able to be around people and the energy of the room, because I was already an energy worker from sort of age 21. I started my Reiki journey. So being able to be part of that and help and support people and raise that vibration and use my artistry to do that and lead people and lead their creativity and support them and teach them was just lovely. But it was the toxicity of that industry that really led me to my path, that really lit me up, because it led me to my purpose. So when I started to get a little bit older, a little bit wiser, and understand what was happening, the corruption, the greed, the preying on people's vulnerabilities to make a profit, the psychological manipulation in my own industry to try and get people to buy and consume an ideal that nobody could ever fit into, the rising of the mental health crisis and identity crisis in people, it just was stifling and devastating. Strong words, I know, but that's how it felt to me. I thought I was reaching the pinnacle of my career because I was ticking off my bucket list, but it felt like I was part of the problem and that I had really gone wrong somewhere and this wasn't what I was meant to be doing. However, here's another however. Along the way, I'd learned some amazing skills, and I had been training, and I had been understanding how the system works, and I'd been understanding how the system in all of its facets worked. I'd been doing lots of work through being a parent and being a governor. I'd been involved in local government, and I'd managed to wheedle my way through doing some creative outreach projects into Westminster, into government. I was starting to see how things work. I had been involved with TV briefly, and I'd been involved in the 90s with different kinds of fashion and media and TV circuits. And, I started to gather the jigsaw pieces in this bigger picture, and I was framing this picture of how the world actually was working, and I could see it playing out with all of the people on the ground level that were consuming all this utter crap. And I was part of the problem. So I thought, wow, where do I go now? Where's the light then? And the light lit up. The light lit up in the back end of 2013. 2012, 2013 was big turning points for me. My trip to Peru. I obviously needed to go there because I just randomly decided, yeah, I'm going. Vicky, I'm coming with you. And off I went. Had some profoundly bizarre experiences, which you'll see in a past episode. And came back with my new track, with all my wisdom and experience, my training, and a light lit up. So I was meant to use these experiences and all my contacts and my connections and the people that I met along the way to flip that narrative on its head and to look at speaking out and creating beautiful creative pieces, editorial pieces, photo shoots, imagery, posters, live events, spoken word, performance pieces, music medicine. I was meant to bring all of this together with amazing people who also were feeling the pull and be a leader, light up as much as I could. The people would gravitate, and then we would do something really spectacular. And we did. We did that in 2015. So it's 10 years next year since the very first show that I produced myself. I met some amazing family now, not just friends that are still with me. And that was, the next decade. The next part of the journey was to explore and experiment and follow the light, follow what lit me up, follow what felt right, what didn't feel right, take the wisdom and learn what could I have done differently, what do I need to do next, and keep on following that path as it lit up. And I was looking back at the show that I'm going to show you in a second the other day at the journey, because when you're on the journey, often you don't realise the impact that you're having on the people by your deeds and your words and the things that you put out there. And B, you don't see the journey as it's happening, do you? You don't see how far you're coming, and you don't see all of the things that you're doing until you look back at it collectively. So I'm really excited to share with you this sort of last decade of my work. And some of the imagery in there leading you towards, shall we say, the reasoning behind what I've been doing and how important it is to share this stuff right now. And some of the poor decision making. I would say poor decision making, but I go back to my past comment that it's brilliant decision making because it does exactly what it's meant to do. None of the systems are broken. They're perfectly set up to do exactly what they were always meant to do. Unfortunately, most of us are collateral damage in that picture. So all my visuals and all my work have been leading towards this point now where we're about to light up a different path and we're going to go in a different direction collectively, I believe, and globally. I think we're ready to shift. And my small little part to play in that is this past 10 years of nudging people to explore their own passions, explore their own identity, think for themselves, take back control of their own lives and their own thinking and work out what it is that makes them happy and what it is that lights them up. And what you're about to see is that last 10 years of all of the events, the shoots, the photo shoots, the community projects, the online projects during lockdown, the big shows that we've done, the little shows that we've done, all together in one to show you the journey so far, lighting that way. And in part 2 next week, I'm going to be going into some more detail about the next phase and how it's going to look now. We've come to the end of one part and we're about to move on to the sequel. So last weekend, just gone, we had our second Tribe Fest festival, and the journey from the shows and the community projects that you're about to see into something really spectacular, our festival, where we bring all of these projects that we work on through the year with the people, and the people create the space that we come together and we share and we celebrate. And now we're ready to go from strength to strength, and we're going to be totally leveling up, totally upgrading our festival. And we've got loads of really cool things in place. So the rain didn't stop us this year. 2 years on the bounce now, it's been like the heavens have opened. So I'm sure there's some learning in that for me somewhere. But we've decided to move the date. So I'm going to tell you all about that in the next episode. And I'll be showing you some of the amazing footage from what we've just done this weekend. And you can see the difference. You can see the transition from the stuff from the last 10 years. And you can see this new direction that we're moving in. Still the same, still collecting people's stories and still lighting the way and encouraging freedom of expression and exploring who you are, but in a slightly different way this time. And who knows what's going to light up next? Who knows where the path is going to lead? But I do know that wherever it is, I will be following that light. Because when you know, you know. When that first light lights the way, you'll feel it. And after that, every time something else lights up, it just pulls you. It pulls you and you know the direction you need to go in. But you have to do that work. No one else can tell you. No one else can tell you what lights you up. You have to have the courage, you have to be brave, and you have to start to explore what it means to be you and why you're here. I'm going to leave you with this show reel, and I look forward to seeing you in part 2 next week. Bye for now. That's not the kind of